Hi! So if this video has shown up in your subscription feed and you don't remember subscribing to this YouTube, that makes sense. I mean, I remember a Quip Modest channel with a little frog as the icon. I don't know who this Jules person is supposed to be. Well, I'm Jules, and I have run Quip Modest for the past 5 or 6 years, depending on how you count things. It feels very strange because I've been on camera before. I've been on camera on this channel before, but it's never been for the sake of being myself. Either I'm announcing something or I'm doing a Q&A, something like that. I've never just talked on this channel. This feels weird. It's been about like 5.5 years since the first Quip Modest web series, which is completely wild to me. And I kind of wanted to make a retrospective sort of thing about the channel, the web series, and think forward to the future a little bit. That second part has to do with the changing of the channel name, but I'll get into that more at the end. I wrote a whole bunch of notes on my phone because so many things have happened. So I just graduated from college with a major in film and media studies and a minor in English, which is completely predictable because of what I have posted on this channel in the past. The backstory of Quip Modest in general is summer of 2014. I was 15 years old and I was sent to a film day camp at the New York Film Academy in New York City, where I am from. And I wanted to take that class because the past couple years I had been just like binging every single show that was on Netflix. I had gotten really into television, and I just wanted to know like some stuff about filmmaking and stuff like that. Most important thing that I learned at that camp was not anything that the teachers taught me. It was from a friend I made named Simona. Simona had gotten into a web series. She told me a bit about it. I thought it sounded really cool. The web series, Nothing Much to Do, which if you don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know if you've already subscribed to this channel. That seems odd, but Nothing Much to Do is a web series that came out in 2014. It was made by a group of New Zealand teenagers / young adult, and it was a modern vlog style adaptation of Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare. This was not the first of its kind and not even the first sort of web series like that I had watched. I don't know if you can tell from everything about me, but I was a Vlogbrothers kid. I was a nerd fighter, I guess, and when Hank Green announced the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, I was very interested. I don't think I finished watching Lizzie Bennet in real time. I was like partway through and then I kind of fell off of it, and then a few months after it ended, I binged the rest. I liked it. I thought it was really, really cool, but I was never like into the fandom or the culture surrounding that series. So when Simona told me about Nothing Much to Do, I was like, oh, that's like the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. And so I watched it and I became absolutely obsessed with it. Funnily enough, the point when I started watching Nothing Much to Do was like right before the baking episode, which means that after that, there was like the weeks of radio silence. I remember someone on Tumblr, I think it was Wibblekind, I don't know what's happened to them. They made an edit of like a badge that says, I survived Nothing Much to Do blackout of 2014. I still want that like on a shirt. But yeah, I was really into Nothing Much to Do, and I started thinking about the fact that really the people who made it were not that much older than me. I mean, in reality, they were like 4 to 5 years older than me in general, and the fact that I was 15 means that that amount of time is a big difference. I was too young, but I decided I wanted to make something like that. I was inspired. And my mind immediately jumped to my personal favorite Shakespeare play, which is As You Like It. I feel like As You Like It gets a bad rap for being kind of just Twelfth Night. People compare it to Twelfth Night. If I had a nickel for every time a female Shakespeare protagonist with a name derived from a flower disguised herself as a man to protect herself and fell in love with a man whose name begins and ends with O, and meanwhile a mean lady falls in love with her disguised self, I would have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I do feel like As You Like It is Twelfth Night taken to every possible extreme, where it's just so much sillier, and that's kind of why I like it. I thought about As You Like It, and no one had done it yet. There have been a couple Shakespeare web series around that time. There was like Jules and Monty, which was before Nothing Much to Do. Kate the Cursed, I think, was before it, but no one had done As You Like It, so I wanted to do that. And I thought that I would need help, which was one of the few times in my life that I've thought to ask for help. Whoops. So I made a post on Tumblr like, hey, does anyone want to like help me write an As You Like It adaptation? And I got 2 like concrete messages from 2 different people. I only like talked with Sarah and Julia like a couple times over video call. Our communication was mostly through a Google Doc where we were writing Like As It Is, which is the first web series that premiered as part of Quip Modest. When the script was done, we had to decide who would be the actual person filming it. And because I'm from New York City and I think that they were both from like smaller towns, I thought that because I would have more access to like interesting locations and possible cast members and just resources in general being in a big city, I offered to film it. It was just a camcorder that was very cheap. It was only filming in up to 720p. It had no real good mic, and it wasn't the best quality that I would have wanted it to be. In fact, I specifically remember one episode where the camcorder's battery died and we had to finish filming it on my phone. It was a lot. I managed to put the cast together partly through just people I knew, friends I had. For example, Amanda, who played Ross, I had gone to a creative arts camp with when we were a bit younger. We were like Facebook friends, and I reached out to her and asked if she wanted to join. Andres, who played Oliver, one of my best friends. And then the other cast members I couldn't find through like connections I had, I posted on a website called backstage.com. And for anybody getting into film and who needs a cast, backstage.com is great. This is not sponsored, I don't know why it would be, but the fact that they will just let you post a listing, it's like maybe, I forget how much it is per listing, it is a little bit of a price, but it's not that expensive, and people will submit usually. It was a great resource to have, and I've used it basically throughout the rest of everything I've made. Somehow, I managed to get it all filmed. I specifically remember like going out to dinner with my family. I was like on the verge of tears because something had gone wrong, and like my dad had to comfort me. Do not make like a 50 episode web series when you are 15. Don't do that. You will regret it. If you're gonna make a web series, make something shorter. For your first thing at least. Personally for me though, the most important thing that happened because of Like As It is the formation of a group chat. I went on Tumblr and posted like, hey, any other web series people want to form a group chat where we talk about stuff, because I was desperate for people to talk to because I was lonely and a kid. But I got responses from a few people. I got Ingrid Nixie Griep, who made the Grey Tarmac Road, an adaptation of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and then Shannon Mickelson and Sarah Renee Weatherby from The Adventures of Jamie Watson and Sherlock Holmes, and finally Nicole Miracle, who made the Blair Goddess Project. We kind of formed a group chat, and it's still going strong today. They are some of my best friends in the world, and I am so grateful that I was able to put that together and that I have them to talk to. Filming ended the summer of 2015, and then we started airing it August of 2015, and it went on for a couple months. I think it ended in December. While Like As It Is was airing, I was already writing 12th grade because I felt that I wanted to do better. The thing about Like As It is I'm still proud of it. It's amazing that we were like able to put it together the way that we did with so little help and resource, but it is very much a project made by like teens. By the time that Like As It Is ended, I kind of made like a feeble attempt to collaborate with Sarah and Julia and a bunch of other people. I very much regret the fact that I kind of went off on my own and didn't really tell Sarah and Julia what I was working on. My idea was that we could all make our own individual stuff and post it on the Quip Modest channel. So like I would post 12th grade, and then if one of them made something by themselves, they could also post it there. I didn't communicate that very well, and I do have regrets about how that turned out. But meanwhile, I wrote 12th grade. I felt much more confident about it. I managed to get a DSLR for Christmas. It's what I'm filming on right now. I have a better lens now, but it's still the same camera. Once again, I cast a few people I already knew. I brought back Andres and Evan, and I also cast Justin, who I knew previously. I needed an Anthony. I was scrambling to find an Anthony, and I thought about anybody I knew who could possibly find me an actor in New York City. And I remembered that the only other literary web series I had seen that took place in New York City or was filmed there was Northbound, the Northanger Abbey adaptation, and they had 2 male actors in that. So I emailed Anya Steiner, who made Northbound. I was like, hey, could you like reach out maybe to your male actors and ask if either would want to be in this? And I managed to get Jeremy Stewart, who played Anthony and was also Henry in Northbound. And that was just very fun. I like the fact that we were able to kind of create that crossover. But the majority of cast members this time were found on Backstage. And my idea going into filming 12th grade was I would film it in chunks of 3. where I would film kind of what I considered to be the first act completely before it started airing, and then as the first act was airing, I would film the second act, and then as the second was airing, I would film the third, and it would be done, and it would go great. Nothing ever goes great when you want it to. Very quickly, we fell behind the schedule. You may remember Orin was recast like right after the first episode aired. That was complicated. 12th grade was so hectic to film. I remember the day we filmed the fight episodes in the park. It was like 7 a.m. An actor was moving to LA like the day after we were going to film, and everyone had like worked the whole day. So it was like 7 a.m. We were out in the park. We managed to barely scrape together all the scenes we needed. And then I had to go to high school because I was in 11th grade and I was late for class. Why did I do this to myself? Simona, who introduced me to this whole world, was actually on set for a few days of 12th grade, and that was wonderful. All in all, I just feel that despite the production having a lot of problems, and despite the fact that if I could go back and change some things, some rando has heard of me, it's probably because of 12th grade, because it's a thing that has been watched the most of the things that I have made. I'm just so grateful for the cast of 12th grade being so incredibly patient with me, 16 to 17-year-old Jules, losing his mind. Especially just like the trio, the starring trio of Sarah, Kristen, and Julian. God, if they had not been as great and helpful and amazing as they are, it would have been a nightmare. It would have been even more of a nightmare. It would have been like a lucid dream nightmare where it's still haunting me to this day. But the fact that I can look back on it, and despite the fact that so many things went wrong, I still smile thinking about it. It wouldn't have been like that if not for the incredible cast. 12th grade was cool because it was the first time, like I said, that people kind of started to pay attention to something I made, even if it wasn't a ton of attention. For example, we got into the New York City Web Fest somehow. I still don't know how that happened. Why did they let us in? But we were there, and there were like people who actually posted on Tumblr after an episode went up. Specifically, I'm thinking of the day that all the fight episodes went up, and I just like went into the Tumblr tag, and it was just like serotonin overload seeing people talking about it. I was saying this to a friend the other day, but it is the coolest thing in the world when you have a story in your head that you care about so much, and you successfully manage to write and create it in a way that makes other people care about it as much, if not more, than you do. That is amazing that like people can do that. And I specifically remember like how great it was posting the epilogue a year later. I feel like everyone who makes something like this, like a web series, they have this idea in their head of a specific episode or something being posted and people's reactions to it, and they want to see that because they want to see if what they did worked. And the problem is when there's only a couple hundred people who are watching a web series consistently, and not really any of them are posting about it on social media, you don't really get to see that reaction. And I'm so incredibly grateful that people cared about 12th grade. 12th grade was a whole lot of work. So of course, instead of taking a break like I should have, I immediately started working on something else. Ingrid who wrote and starred in The Great Tarmac Road, we had been talking about wanting to make an original web series with a lot of magic and world building. And let me tell you, Ingrid is like one of the best people to world build with. Sometimes I would like come up with an idea for something in the middle of the night or really early in the morning, and I would just send off a message to Ingrid like, but what if this? What if this was a thing? What if it worked like this? And like, that is just so great to have people you can build things with. The idea we had turned into the Uncanny Upshurs. Fun fact, the last name Upshur came from the fact we wanted the show to be adjective, the twin surname, and we were trying to figure it out, and I have been watching someone's Let's Play of the video game Outlast, the horror video game about the mental hospital. Very problematic, but the main character in that game's name was Miles Upshur, and I saw that last name and I was like, I'm just gonna take that, use that myself, thank you. And then Uncanny came from that. It's probably the best name for a show that I've had. Ingrid was filming back in the UK, I was filming in New York City. It was wonderful to bring back Julian to be in another project to play Jake, and he was able to put me in touch with both B, who played Wally, and Sarah, who played Rosamund. They're all great. Everyone's great. If you're an actor who I've worked with watching this and I don't say your name and say that you're great, know that I'm just very scattered, and I am really just trying to say that literally everybody is great. If I was gonna like make a video about every single person and how much I love and appreciate them, this would be like a 12-hour video and I don't want to post that. I also was able to get in touch with Jennifer Catania, who made one of the first literary inspired web series, like right after Lizzie Bennet Diaries Notes by Christine. She starred in that, and then she was also in Adventures of Jimmy Watson and Blair Goddess Project. She like lived around Shannon and Sarah Nicole's area. I don't know what this is. She was in New York City at that time, and so I was able to get in contact with her to play Lennon, and then I was also able to get in contact with the other star of Northbound, Alice Hale, who I got to play Bryony. Alice is wonderful. Go follow her on Instagram. She does a lot of like knitting and crocheting, and it's always great to see. And then later in the second season, I was also able to get in contact with Aubrey Carey, who wrote and starred in one of my favorite web series, The Better Strangers, to play a quick role as Maddie. And then Carly Hayes, who starred in another one of my favorite web series, Horizons. She was also in The Writing Majors to play that kind of mysterious figure at the very end. I'm not going to say ever who that is supposed to be. Some people have guessed, unless we like magically get the money to make a third season of Uncanny Upshurs, which would require a lot more money than we used for the first two, or if we don't like continue it in some other form. You're never gonna know. Uncanny Upshurs seasons 1 and 2 were the first times I'd ever crowdfunded, and we managed to hit both crowdfunding goals, which was amazing. Compared to other sets I've been on, Uncanny Upshurs, both seasons 1 and 2, I don't remember them that well, which means that nothing went terribly wrong. I'm sure things went wrong in the moment, but I don't have any flashbacks where I'm like, oh god, that happened, didn't it? I'm really proud of Uncanny Upshurs in a way that's different from the other shows I've made, specifically because it's not based on anything. Working overseas, communicating with Ingrid could sometimes be rough, but it came together really well. I still really love it, and I'm glad that we made it. I think it's great, and may I say it, underrated. So we finished filming first season of Uncanny Upshurs, I think end of the summer of 2016. It's aired from 2016 to beginning of 2017, and I should have again taken a break, and I didn't, because what I decided to do was adapt Emma. Right before I really started filming Emma Agenda, I met Rebecca Shoptaw, who is an incredible director and writer. She's made a bunch of short films on YouTube, and she was also working on, at the time, her first web series, which was Middlemarch the series, and because we were kind of both working on our independent series that kind of featured a sapphic romance, at the same time we kind of felt like kindred spirits, and she actually directed a few episodes of the Emma Agenda. She's great. She's gonna win like a million Oscars one day. This time the casting was almost entirely through Backstage. The only actors I brought back were 3-Pete Andres and Dan, who played Foster in 12th grade and was now Lincoln in the Emma Agenda. Dan is amazing. Shout out to Dan. Great guy. Another cool actor connection I made was Shelby Capone, who I had watched in the web series Sidetrack a few months earlier, and I was looking for someone to play Taylor in just a couple episodes, and she showed up as an application on Backstage, and I was like, whoa, I recognize you, I've seen you before. Once again, filming was rough. I had not learned my lesson and had miscalculated how long it would take to film things, and I set a premiere date before we finished filming. There were some delays and cuts that were not ideal. Specifically, the biggest thing that was kind of affected by filming troubles was the Box Hill episode. Originally, when I wrote that episode, Jordan was supposed to be there, and so were Harriet and April, and I managed to include Harriet and April through voiceover, but Jordan wasn't there. In reality, none of those 3 actors were there. It was one of the last episodes we shot, and it was just a scramble. And there were also just a lot of things going on with that production that they're more personal, so I don't really feel comfortable talking about them in a public video. If we're like friends, I may have vented about it to you. I just don't want to talk about it in like a public setting. Just know that it was very different problems to problems I've had on previous sets and future sets. Side note, why did I change Frank Churchill's name to Lincoln? Why didn't I just call him Frank? I regret that to this day. Why did I change his name? I didn't need to. It's not like I was changing a gender or something where like, oh, I changed George to Jordan. Why did I make it Lincoln? It could have been Frank. I regret this. Out of everything I got out of the Emma Agenda, and I got a lot out of it, a lot of experience, a lot of memories, the best thing I got was meeting my best friend Zoe. When the Emma Agenda was airing early 2017, the literary inspired web series fandom was kind of hanging on by a thread. I say fandom and not community there because I still feel a great sense of community from the people I have met through literary web series, but there's a very big difference between that and an active fandom where people are like making fan art and fic and gift sets and all that sort of thing. So when I saw Zoe's blog appear on Tumblr, I was kind of intrigued because it seemed like she had watched some of the things I had made. So I, being the person desperately looking for social contact that it was, just messaged her on Tumblr, I think in response to some post she had made, and we just started talking. She is my best friend, and I am so glad that we met. The agenda, again, I have regrets about some of the things I did, but fewer regrets than something like 12th grade. And listen, my goal from the start was to create a dreamy lesbian nightly, and according to TikTok, I succeeded. I think the summer of 2017 was when we filmed season 2 of Uncanny Upstairs, but I kind of already talked about that earlier. What I will say is that partway through releasing season 2 of Unup, we took like a 6-month hiatus. Ingrid's hard drive decided to sabotage us, but we finally managed to like get it fixed and we're able to air it again, and that's great. It's amazing that we did not lose that footage. Technology, sometimes it hates you. But when the Emma agenda ended was also around the time that I was ending high school. And then fall of 2017, I was in college and everything was weird and different. But just because everything was weird doesn't mean I took a break. My first ever semester of college, freshman year, I took a class called the English Literary Tradition, where we read a bunch of English literature, including like Beowulf and Waiting for Godot. And one of the things we read in that class was a play by William Congreve called The Way of the World. And I read it and I was like, this is great. Why does no one talk about this? I see potential in this to make a web series. I started writing one, and my second ever semester of college was when I filmed it, which was a mistake. That second semester of college was extremely tough. I just did not need to add that extra stressor onto myself, but I did. It was bad, and therefore a lot of the best wishes did not go the way I wanted it to. And once again, I'm going to put all of the onus on myself. I should have asked for help. I should have reached out, talked to people more. But what I did was I put together a cast and I set to work. That cast was, again, a bunch of really great people. I had met Will, who played Spencer, on Tumblr a few years earlier, I think because we were both involved in the kind of Call Me Katie fandom. We realized that we were going to college pretty near each other, like our colleges were pretty close. And I knew that they acted, so I asked if they wanted to play Spencer, and that was great. Shout out to Tari, who played Fiona, who graduated this past semester alongside me. Sarah Gruber is fantastic. She's actually in my friend Zoe's web series. She's so funny in it. It's really good. How I feel about The Best Wishes is complicated because I wanted it to be so much more than it was. I think that script particularly, I thought that things were coming across more obviously than I think they were when someone who wasn't me read it, which means that I should have shown it to more people. I should have done more drafts, and I didn't because I was impatient and silly. I'm still proud of it, but I wish I had not made it in the circumstances that I did. Out of all my web series, I think it's the one that I think back the most on and see the potential that was not realized. And again, all my own fault. There were so many issues I wanted to touch on in that series. There was a whole theme of class and wealth disparity that I tried to make a thing. Watching it back, harder to pick up on than I wanted it to be. But yeah, The Best Wishes, I filmed it, it's out there, I'm proud of it. I think that there's a lot of good stuff in there, but it's flawed. Now you may wonder why I'm talking about filming The Best Wishes before Ernest 101, when technically Ernest 101 came out first. And it's because The Best Wishes finished filming at the end of my freshman year, the beginning of 2018. I had filmed it all before airing for the first time in a while, which was a great decision because it was less stress than the other thing. And then The Best Wishes aired alongside the beginning of my sophomore year of college, fall of 2018. But in the summer of 2018, I'm sorry, I might put a timeline on the screen to try to make this make a bit more sense. Summer of 2018, I messaged my friend Dave. Dave I had also met through the literary inspired web series community. Dave is an incredible writer. They had written and acted in a web series called School Spirit, which was an adaptation of Live Spirit by Noel Coward, I think that's what it's called. And we had met, we were talking. I definitely suggest following Days on Twitter because they're very funny. But I messaged Days one day like, hey, wouldn't it be interesting if there was like an adaptation of The Importance of Being Ernest, but alongside like name confusion, there was also gender confusion? And Days was like, I literally have just been thinking about this. How did you read my mind? And we decided to write Ernest 101 together. Ernest 101, my shortest web series and also the shortest filming period. Dave and I both each wrote 6 episodes. It ended up being 12 episodes, and we filmed it when Dave was taking a short trip to New York City. We filmed it over the course of 4 days straight. I managed to get back Sarah from the Uncanny Upshurs to play Cecily, and then Jennifer Catania again to play Tia. Angelica Bracknell was my actual aunt. Shout out to Auntie Patty. She also let us film some stuff in her apartment. We also filmed a lot of it at Dan's apartment, and he had a brief appearance as Lane in the first 2 episodes, so shout out to Dan as well, a wonderful human being. And then Dave themselves played Jack, and I directed. I have very few memories from the filming of Ernest 101 just because it went by so quickly, but honestly it was just incredibly satisfying to get something a lot shorter than other things I've worked on done in such a short period of time. It was just like 4 days of concentrated hard work, and then it was completely filmed and all I had to do was edit, and we aired that in the month before The Best Wishes premiered. And really, Ernest 101 taught me that I did not need 50 episodes or more to tell a story that I was proud of. I think that was a really important lesson for me to learn, that these things can be shorter form. And then I decided to make an 80 episode web series. David Copperfield was actually the book I was going to adapt right after 12th grade ended. It didn't come together. I wasn't able to put together all the ideas I had for it. It was ambitious in a sense, both like scope of the story that I wanted to tell, or just like all the different locations. But by the beginning of 2019, I felt that I had a handle on what I wanted to do with it, and so I wrote the 2 seasons of Public History. Public History, compared to other sets, so smooth. Really the biggest like mix-up and issues I had were during actual casting. Once we were on set, in production, filming, everyone was great. We had Alice come back to play Rosa, and then Vera came back from Ernest 101 to be Mariah in this. Vera's amazing. She's so funny in both, I think. Jennifer Teska, who played Lizzie Bennett in The Jane Game, which was another web series that had aired a few years before, applied to play Peggy, and that was great. But everyone else was people that I was meeting for the first time. We filmed both seasons of Public History summer of 2019. You could probably tell because we continued airing even when COVID started. I do want to especially shout out Bradley Ryan Sewell, who played David. He is in every single episode of that 80 episode show. He was just so willing and committed to really portraying David in the way that I had completely imagined him. Public History absolutely would not have worked if someone less wonderful than him has been in that role. Just such a trooper. Everyone who has worked on one of my sets has to put up with so much weirdness from me, and I am just so grateful to everyone. Public History, I think, is the thing I am most proud of at this point. Like, obviously 12th grade was more successful. Public History overall, I think I had learned from The Best Wishes that sometimes you can't be quite as subtle as you're trying to be. I had learned from stuff like 12th grade how to switch from a kind of silly, campy atmosphere to the more serious topics I wanted to discuss. From the Emma agenda, I had learned a lot about the ins and outs of working with actors. Ernest 101 has taught me like how to do a lot in a short period of time. Everything I had worked on, one way or another, gave me something that I brought to the table when making Public History, and I just think it turned out really well. And by the time Public History finished airing, it was the summer of 2020, which you likely know as a horrific COVID-19 summer, and I was in a way forced to take a break for the first time because I could not be on film sets, but that didn't stop me wanting to do things. The idea for Drew and Oren, like the seed of the idea, the fact that it would in concept be Drew's younger sister, Bianca, being Bianca from The Taming of the Shrew and Drew kind of taking on that Catherine role had been an idea I'd had since like 2016 actually. I remember in that Q&A about 12th grade I had said, I don't want to make a sequel. And then like a couple days after, my brain was like, yeah, but what if though? What if you did that and what if it was this? And I've occasionally tried to make it work. It was originally going to be like a more traditional literary inspired web series that was like Bianca's blog, but it never came together, partially because in order to do it I would at least definitely need back John and Julian, and they were both off doing like really cool actor things. John got cast as Scorpius Malfoy in the San Francisco Cursed Child production, which is whoa, oh my god, dude. And then Julian was in Japan for a good period of time, and he was also doing just like a whole bunch of really cool stuff, and I just couldn't get both of them in the same place at the same time and have the ability and resources to actually run a production. And then COVID happened, and I was bored, and I sat down and wrote the first draft of Drew and Oren in a day. And I thought, you know what, I'm probably not gonna be able to ever make this. I messaged John and Julian after writing it and said, hey, would this kind of socially distanced video call sort of thing, would you be interested in doing that? We realized very quickly that we could not make it work unless we had some sort of budget. And I thought that I wouldn't be able to raise the money because I had tried crowdfunding for public history. It didn't go well. So I thought, okay, no one cares about what I'm doing anymore, and so no one wants to give me money. But I felt bad about it because I really didn't want to, it had been years at this point, I really didn't want to kind of share the story of what happened to Drew and Oren. And so I thought, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna post the script online, buy it for $5, I think I put it up for. If people want to read it, this is the sequel that I would make if people wanted to see it. And then people bought it and read it, more people than I expected. And it made me think, hey, maybe actually a crowdfunding campaign would work for this. I reached out again to John and Julia and I asked if we could raise the money to make this a thing, would you be able to do it? And they said yes. We put together the crowdfunding campaign for Drew and Oren. It went really well. I'm still amazed by how well that went. In the third role of Bianca, I casted my friend Kai, who is an amazing young actor who I'd known for years from like social media, and they had been like a big supporter of my shows for a long time, and eventually I was just like, you know what, you should just be in this. After the crowdfunding campaign finished, we scheduled a day to film all of Drew and Oren, and I edited it, and I posted it. The 5-year anniversary of 12th grade starting, and that very much felt like a kind of full circle moment, because technically I started with Like As It Is, and I would not be here talking about all these web series to the camera if not for Like As It Is, but 12th grade still feels like the first time I ever considered myself a screenwriter and a director. And then I took a break, for real this time. I'm still on that break, technically. As I'm filming this, I graduated college like a week ago. I'm back home. This angle of my bed has been used in like every single web series I have ever made. Like the walls have been painted and the bedspread has changed, but this bed frame, it's in everything. I'm out of college now. It's weird, and I don't know what to do. I want to keep making stories. I even want to keep making literary web series. I have like 3 ideas that if the pieces came together to film them and write them, I would, because I like them. I like those ideas. But I also have ideas for a lot of other stuff. I have ideas for like video essays and just like kind of more casual videos, and like a podcast script I'm writing. And at first I thought this stuff on Quip Modest, the YouTube channel. For a long time, it has been difficult for me to say that Quip Modest is mine. It for sure didn't start out as mine, and over the course of time, I have not been able to develop the confidence to say, I made this. Because really, everything I've made has been so incredibly collaborative, whether it be writing with Days and Ingrid, or directing with Rebecca, or even editing for other shows by really cool people that I met, like with Away From It All. And I felt like if I took the Quip Modest channel and I changed it to Jules' channel, I would be taking too much credit. It does come out of a sort of imposter syndrome thing, and it also feels like if I said this is my channel, I would feel like I was being ungrateful to the people who made this channel what it was with me. And then I think, you know what? Really no YouTube channel is just that person's channel. You look at something like The Needle Drop, it's not just his channel. He has editors, he has the musicians he covers, he has interviews of other people. His name is on it, but it's not only his. As I'm like taking this step into a new world, or whatever you want to call it, I would love to have some familiar support by my side. To use a metaphor from ages ago, I may be the captain of the ship, but I will always need a ship steers. And I hope to be a captain that makes you proud, if that makes sense. Oh god, I'm gonna cry. I felt like I needed to make some kind of video before kind of transitioning the channel. If you don't want to stick around, I get it. I don't want you to feel guilty just because I'm on the verge of tears. It's not what I'm crying about. I don't really know how to end this. I don't even know how long this video is gonna be. Thank you. Thank you a million times. Best wishes. I hope you all have wonderful lives. That was corny. That was corny as hell. Oh god. Oh well. Bye.